heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit, for the Spirit searcheth all things, yea, the deep things of God. And of course, last week we started trying to get into this discussion and this topic of the Satan's goals for the lost and how he is attempting to try to use us as Christians. If he can keep us from living the life that God has intended for us to live, how he can eventually affect the lost from coming to the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And of course, last week we got into a lengthy example of compromise, and that's one of the tricks that the devil uses to try to bring misunderstanding to a lot of people. And if anybody took the time to go home and that has Facebook and social media and look up my post and stuff, and then go through and read some of the comments, and some of those people have actually attended this church for years, and they are completely and totally lost in what the essence of the discussion topic was. And if we're not careful, that will happen to us. And I was also using the illustration, using him, the little incident there with Kenny Baldwin as an example of what that is. Here's something else, and I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to kind of like pass this around. Y'all can, right here's another example. This is stuff that the devil tries to use and has well-intentioned people that are professing Christianity to come in and say and do things in front of lost people, and then use those types of things to keep people from coming to the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. That is a disturbing meme right there, and that's not no meme. That actually happened. What's coming around on my phone that y'all are looking at and reading, that is an actual individual that made the actual statement, professing to be a Christian, and completely and totally going against what the Bible stands for. The reason this Bible is under such attack today is because of that. When you have people that are, and we got into this discussion, I think last time over there when we were recording, when you have people trying to pick and choose, they're writing a book and they're using this version and that version and 15 different versions of the Bible to try to prove a point that they're trying to make. All they're doing is making what is convenient for them to make their point. But when you try to put it up against what this Bible says, there it is, Josiah. It doesn't line up. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And like I said there, one of the other things, I know a couple of weeks ago I made the statement about some of the people that you see on Facebook, the reels and different things, and you find them on TikTok and other places. I said word of faith, but it's faith on fire. The little white-headed guy that gets up and has the choir loft full of people, the churches is running over with people. And if you're not careful, a lot of the things that man gets up and says, you will find yourself agreeing with. Why? Because a lot of what he's saying is true. But the underlying thing there that you don't see is the Calvinistic nature of his doctrine. And that's why it is so important that as Christians, we understand the doctrine that which we are standing on. That is your foundation. And that's kind of the point of this whole thing. The information is that if Satan can attack your doctrine and get you to believe in something just a little bit different, he can take you and you'll wind up just as a well-meaning Christian can start dabbling around in a little bit of sin, and before you know it, you're way out in the left field somewhere just, overtaken in the sin and the cares of this life if you're not careful. And you're like, I didn't even intend to make it this far. That's how Satan tries to attack. He will get you to listen to something that has just a little bit of truth to it. And then if you're not careful, if you're not picking up on the different things and the things that they're saying and stuff, just like, we were talking about with the charismatic movement and stuff. And anytime somebody starts getting up, and I had this on my Facebook, or not Facebook, YouTube, just this week. One day last week, there was something, a guy that I follow made a post on YouTube. Just, this is a conversation thing. And I commented on it. 5 days later, here's a thumbnail picture of him. And if you're not careful, and it took me a second, I'm like, reading this comment that he commented back. He's using the same name and everything. The same picture, thumbnail, and all this. And then he starts commenting back to me, and I'm like, what? This makes absolutely no sense. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and pull it up and read it to you. I'm in my pictures here, if it'll go back. The original comment was, how's it going today, guys? I commented, I'm doing great. Woke up at midnight this morning to get ready to go to work, ready for work, and saw that I was being, I kind of went into a little discussion there about what had happened on that one post. Well, let's see. Come on. Cooperate. Well, I don't have the whole thing. But anyway, he gets up. The comment comes back, and it's laden with charismatic catchphrases, little words, anointing, and all this, that, and the other. A lot of the same things that people that are standing on doctrine saw that what happened with Kenny Baldwin a couple of weeks ago, that he was getting up and using and stuff. And see, here's the thing. Here's one of the reasons why that's so important is because he is still being promoted as a key speaker in youth events and different things that people are still, they're just dogmatic about it, and they're still going to promote him. And he's going to come into churches, and he's going to get up, and he's going to say his thing. He's going to preach probably a very good message. But anybody that then learns about him when they're in their church, and then they go back and start following him and his church, and they're seeing all this stuff that, well, we're not doing that here at our church and everything, and they're bringing in that touch of charismaticism in, and then promoting it through their church under the guise of it being a Baptist church and everything. That is what breeds confusion. God is not the author of confusion. The devil is. And that is what he's after. He's after trying to confuse us as good, Bible-believing, doctrinally sound Christians. If he can crack that foundation in any way, what happens when the foundation of a house fails? Anybody? Anybody know? It's going to fall. We have that in the Bible, telling us of the man who built his house on the rock. The winds and the storms came, and what happened? The house stood firm. But the fool who built his house on the sand, when the rains and the winds come, what happened? The foundation failed and the house crumbled. That is what Satan is after. He is after anything he can bring to cause your faith and your trust in God to crumble and then fall and follow after other doctrines out here that is going to stop you cold from doing what God has in store for your life. That is why it's so important. A lot of people, you go back, and if you haven't, I encourage you to go back, and you're going to see a lot of people, all they're hung up on is, well, it was just a special service. It was just a special service. It wasn't like, this was a normal Sunday morning service. And then they're trying to compare it to Vacation Bible School of all things. It's how the devil works. Anytime he can bring in a little deception, and he can get you to buy into it and start listening to it. And then what happens after that is that as you start listening to it, you're opening yourself up to all this other stuff that the devil's going to come in and wreck and ruin your Christian life. And whether you all want to believe it or not, but this age group right here, this is the age group that he is so dogmatic and going after so hot and heavy. Why? Why? Because if he can get this age group out of churches, good Bible-believing churches, he knows you're not going to raise your family in a good Bible-believing church. And if he can get you sucked in somewhere else where they're not standing on Bible doctrine and keeping things right between you and the Lord, then he's going to wind up bringing up another generation of church kids who have no use for the things of God. And I'm going to stand here and tell you that when I was your age, about 30 years ago, I could have cared less about doctrine. Fast forward to me today, I look back on over those 30 years, and I am repentant of the time that I wasted because I was not interested in good Bible, sound, foundational doctrine, because I wound up throwing 30 years of my life away because I was caught up in stuff I had no business being caught up in. That is one reason why I am so dogmatic, and so I am just going to keep beating this horse in the head until it ain't there no more, and then draw one in the sand and keep beating it. Why? Because it is so important. Without good foundational Bible doctrine, the devil can blow you away with every wind of doctrine. And it's the false doctrine. And it's going to trip you up. And it's going to keep you from being what God has intended for you to be. All right, so there was y'all are free to go.